Negro League baseball was a great phenomenon.
And we give a good ball game. We played with some of the greatest ball players that ever lived.
The first game I pitched for the Philadelphia Stars was against Satchel Paige in Yankee Stadium with 45,000 people.
They hired me for $350 a month, and I would have played for free.
And I think it was 1941, we were supposed to play in a town in Alabama, and they got lynched, black fella, that afternoon. Not only call off our game, but they had to get us out of town.
And there's only a few of us left alive, you know, and none of us are angry at anybody for anything. And I like that.
Late in the 20th century, an almost forgotten chapter in Philadelphia baseball history came to light. The Philadelphia Stars had represented the city in our country's segregated Negro leagues. For nearly 50 years, their story had gone untold. My name is Ryan Howard, and I'm honored to help shine a light on these American heroes.
I mean, it was truly a brotherhood. Maybe it was part of that generation where they did what they had to do. You didn't linger or just focus on things in the past. You had to move forward.
And they said that we couldn't play. You're talking about a ball, a glove, a bat. Natural thing. You got two legs and you can run, and yet you couldn't play.
It had been 50 years since Jackie Robinson had broken the color barrier in Major League Baseball. In that time, civil rights in America had seen dramatic improvements. Yet within the game, studies showed that a majority of players, both white and black, had little knowledge of the trials and sacrifices Jackie had to endure, and the heavy toll they took.
I was to see him about 3 days before he died. And honest to goodness, when I came home, I just about cried.
In '97, the players didn't even know, really who Jackie Robinson was. Even if they knew the name, they didn't understand how it applied to their life or, so what kind of attitude.
They don't know what that man did for them. Because he gave his life. He gave his life for them. He wouldn't give up, and he got treated terrible. Worse here than anywhere.
By the summer of '97, Major League Baseball made plans to honor Jackie in an unprecedented manner.
As part of baseball's year-long tribute, each Major League team is retiring number 42 in honor of Jackie.
It was a fitting tribute to a man who had given so much.
It's a thrill to be here in Philadelphia under these good circumstances. We forget the past, but remember the past, and use it to look forward to the future.
Not long after, a pair of Philadelphia business leaders came up with a plan to further honor the men of that era.
We were holding a business association meeting, and the topic at the time was how to bring some interest to West Parkside.
And there was this old gentleman, he had to be like 82 years old, and we were going up on the elevator, and I mentioned something about baseball and so forth, and the guy says to me, he says, "We used to play baseball right here." And I said, "You played baseball here?" He said, "Yes, we used to play baseball right out back here in that field." He says, "Matter of fact, we have a historical plaque that's just been put there like a couple of years ago."
We came up with the idea that at the very least we should put a statue so people would notice the plaque. And it was Bill Cash who said, "Nobody has ever done anything to memorialize the Philadelphia Stars. Could you make this park for the Philadelphia Stars?"
And we look forward to you coming out in the fall of this year at Belmont and Parkside and seeing the statue placed and erected there, and it'll be there from now and hopefully forever to represent these gentlemen here, the Philadelphia Stars.
By 2003, the statue became a reality, and the unveiling took place at Veterans Stadium. It was there that the public got the first look at the sculpture and the 5 remaining members of the Philadelphia Stars it would honor.
To those athletes and gentlemen of America's greatest pastime, I salute. Soon there will be a great day at Belmont and Parkside, and after all the cheers and the hurrahs have subsided, when we have left, those ghosts
of games going by will lift their caps and say, well done.
When you met them, for me, it was like going back and sharing a part of history with somebody that lived it. And they always carried themselves in such a dignified, sort of graceful way.
Well, they just had tremendous character, and they were very gracious, and they were like speaking to grandfathers.
And I would just hear them telling stories. And I said, well, you know, I can't remember all this stuff. We have to get this documented and just let these guys tell it firsthand.
I don't think I've met one Negro League player that didn't appreciate having the conversation with them, you know, because they just enjoyed talking about their life history, and they were just, you know, very appreciative that somebody was very interested in what they had done.
Over the next 10 years, the Phillies and the Stars entered into a special friendship. It gave us all a chance to gaze into the past, to receive an oral history from the people who lived it. It all began on an autumn afternoon in the basement of Veterans Stadium.
Okay, my name is Bill Cash. I was born in Georgia. I came to Philadelphia in 1924, and I started playing baseball in Ellenwood, you may say out near the airport. And I grew up from there, and I got with the Philadelphia Stars in 1943, from 1943 to 1950.
I'm Harold Gould. I was born in a real small village in the southern part of New Jersey by the name of Gouldtown. It was named after my people. Their family ancestry can be traced back to the nobility of England. I came to the Philadelphia Stars and for a tryout in 1945. I played one game and I sent me home. I thought I got shut down. Then I come back in 1946, 47, 48. I feel that I was fairly successful as a ball player.
Stanley Glenn grew up in Southwest Philadelphia, born in a little fishing village on the eastern shore of Virginia by the name of Watchaprig. Came to Philadelphia in the first grade. Played at John Bartram High School, 42, 43, and 44. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Went with the Philadelphia Stars, 1944 to 1950. In between times, went to the Philadelphia School of Physical Medicine. Could not make a living, so I was glad there was baseball.
My name is Malin Duckett. I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I went to schools in the Philadelphia Public Schools here. I went and graduated from Overbrook High. I didn't play baseball in high school because I ran track. I came out of Overbrook in 1940 and I was signed by the Philadelphia Stars when I was only 18 years old. And I played with the Philadelphia Stars from 1940 to 1950. And had a beautiful time in Negro Leagues.
My name is Wilmer Harris. I was pitcher for the Philadelphia Stars. I went to Central High in Philadelphia. I was born in Philadelphia, raised in Philadelphia. The first game I pitched for the Philadelphia Stars was against Satchel Paige in Yankee Stadium with 45,000 people. We went 7 innings, nothing, and we won it 3-1 in the 7th inning. They got 3 runs, and that was it.
For 62 years, I have known Wilmer Harris. The rest of the guys, Malin and Harold and Bill, I guess our times together has been about 55 years. And to be friends that long, that's a great thing. And here we are still doing our thing, having a good time with it, and trying to tell you all just how much fun we really had.
Philadelphia was an altogether different city. Baseball was everything in those days, as far as young people coming up. We didn't have the basketball like they had today, nor the football. They had the Eagles, but they didn't have a lot of... Basketball wasn't the main thing. Baseball was the main sport in the early 40s.
Philadelphia, as a matter of fact, I would say was a mecca for baseball. You had so many good ball players all over the city and in and around.
When I was growing up, born in 1936. Baseball was king. The only thing that was bigger in sport, in my opinion, in America was boxing.
I was playing semi-pro ball with the Manhattan Giants. We played independent baseball, which we played about 30 games from May until September. And Ed Gottlieb booked our games, and we played all around, way up in Kensington, Frankfurt. Sometimes we beat the teams in Frankfurt and have to run for the bus.
Philadelphia has always been a city of neighborhoods. There was baseball everywhere. You had an industrial league here like GE and Westinghouse and Brills and Crown Cork, and everybody had a baseball team. And that's how you met an awful lot of fellas, because you were playing. There were many ball players, and I'm speaking mostly of white baseball players, didn't go into the major leagues because they were making more money working here in the factories and playing 4 or 5 baseball games a week than going to some minor league someplace for $200, $250 a month.
Well, in those days, baseball was it, and all the kids ran on the sandlot, so I guess I was over there at 10, 11 years old. And I always played with fellas that was older than myself. And I learned a lot in the sandlot, to tell the truth.
The Yankees had heard about this guy, Stanley Glenn. I was hitting so many home runs. And at that time, believe it or not, we only had 11 high schools in the city of Philadelphia. And I think I had 16 home runs in 11 games. So he sends, Art Fletcher comes down to Bartram High School to see about this guy, Glenn, that they've been reading about in the paper. And when they told Art Fletcher that I was black, he didn't even want to meet me or say hello. He turned around and went on back to New York.
I was playing with the mainline leagues, and I played with Wayne in Wayne, Pennsylvania. We had a pretty strong league because they were all men also. We played a few games against Negro Leagues teams when they was barnstorming. So they decided to sign me, or try to sign me, because I was only 17 and my parents had to agree. My father was for it, but my mother wasn't, because at that time in 1940, you know, we had a lot of problems in the South. She knew that a lot of the games would be played there. She was against me going below Washington because I was born in Philadelphia, and she knew I wasn't really used to that stuff, but my father convinced her. And that's really how I got the tryout. And, well, that's my story.
While many of the stars grew up in the city, one player had a very different kind of youth. Harold Gould grew up in a small town in Cumberland County. While he lived only 40-some miles from Philadelphia, rural New Jersey during the Depression might as well have been on the other side of the world.
I'd hardly ever been out of Gouldtown in my whole life. We were very country people with no transportation. Back in the day, you see a car, it was remarkable. You had to say, I saw a car. What kind was it, Model T? We played baseball summer and winter. It didn't matter about the weather. We just, often we get out there and play. I never realized that any of us had any particular talent. People heard about me. Well, how about coming to pitch for us Sunday? We'll give you $5. $5? I'll be there. I still didn't realize that I had any talent. And I had a Jewish fella down there by the name of Leonard Flum. He owned an Army Navy store. And he said, you're too good to be playing around. You're too good to be playing around here. I've got a friend I'm gonna have you to go see him. And so he finally did. He finally told me to go up to, I think it was Chestnut Street or somewhere. I hardly had ever been to Philadelphia, if I'd been there at all before in my life. But I went up there to see Eddie Gottlieb, and that was the guy who owned the Philadelphia Warriors. And he told me, he said, you're gonna play for the Philadelphia Stars. And he didn't even look up at me. He just said, you're gonna play with the Philadelphia Stars. The Philadelphia Stars, that didn't mean nothing to me. I thought just another team like the Salem Braves, the Hopewell Creeps, and I thought it was just another small time, you know. This ain't major league. Can't nobody play baseball with white boys. Us guys can't play that ball. I want to be like them, you know.
And they said, which I always hated, that we couldn't play. And that bothered me. You're talking about a ball, a glove, a bat. Natural thing. You got two legs and you can run, and yet you couldn't play. That always bothered me.
Negro baseball, even though black ball players were barred from major leagues, people that saw Negro baseball as major league. Because we had all the stars in the Negro leagues. And in County Max Stadium, we really drew people.
The only time we could play in Shire Park was on Monday, because the Phillies and Athletic played, and Monday was was travel day. If they had 10,000 people on Sunday, we'd come in Monday night and have 35,000. And that wasn't just sometime, that's every time.
It was wonderful for me to go to the Negro League teams because I used to watch the schedule and see what teams were coming in to see the Philadelphia Stars.
People wanted to see all the greats because we had all the fellows in those days, like the Josh Gibsons, the Cool Papa Bells, and so many of the fellows that's in the Hall of Fame now. And Philadelphia was a baseball town.
America wasn't a very nice place to be at that time, south of Chester, Pennsylvania. So we did an awful lot of sleeping in the bus. And, you know, we didn't seem to mind it that much. It goes to show you how much we just liked to play baseball.
It wasn't too nice, you know, below the Mason-Dixon line. Before the war, it wasn't any kind of social life, not down south. Because naturally, they didn't have hotels anyway. And they had little rooming houses, but we couldn't get a room. And we did have to sleep in the bus. No place to eat. We used to go to, well, I'll say a grocery store or whatever. They tell us to go in the back and they'll give us lunch meat and maybe quarts of milk and soda and so forth and so on.
Hotels, what are you talking about, hotels? We were in people's houses with 2 rooms here and 1 room over there, and somebody else across town had another room.
When the manager got to town, he knew what houses to send you to because they were expecting you. And you actually ate much better than you'd eat at a restaurant because you had all at home cooking and you could eat all you wanted. There was a couple of places you could, for $1, you could eat all the breakfast you wanted. The guys wouldn't eat they wouldn't eat no breakfast, they wouldn't eat any lunch till they can get to that place and eat all they could eat for $1.
And they'd round us all up, and then down to the ballpark we'd go and play. Now, don't think you're going to find a shower at the end of the day. There's nothing going to be none unless you come back to that lady's house or the fat woman's house and get a chance to take a shower and clean yourself up, because it just wasn't available to you. And there was ballparks there, but they would not turn the water on for you, or they wouldn't not even use the restrooms. You just had to, that's the way it was.
I loved it and enjoyed it, and yes, I would do it again, but I'd rather do it north of Chester or east of Pittsburgh. Because once you got past Harrisburg, you might as well be in Mississippi. That's how bad it was.
Tell you how lousy it was, but we endured. We left Philadelphia for 28 days. Was in bed 4 hours. We had 4 drivers of the bus. I usually drove the bus from 2 o'clock in the morning till 7 because I could stay awake. I looked down on the panel, the lights come on. I said, oh, the guy says, what's wrong? I said, I think we blew a motor. We go through towns 80 and 85 miles an hour to make the schedule.
Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Yeah, Clarksdale.
When we got to city limits, a policeman stopped the bus, a guy in the bus, and he said, this game will be over by 10 o'clock. Yeah. Because we don't allow black men and white women on the street past 10 o'clock at night. So the game was over by 10, and we got out of there. Had to drive all the way back to Memphis, about 100 miles, to bathe and eat and get those clothes
We went to get our uniforms out of the bus. Old Cracker said, "You can't dress in this dressing room. No nigga dress in here." And we had to go under the stands to dress.
A lot of the Negro teams, they went through a lot of things that they didn't even want to talk about. In fact, and I think it was in 1941, we were supposed to play in a town in Alabama, and they got lynched, a black fella, that afternoon. So we had to not only call off our game, but they had to get us out of town. So that's some of the conditions we played under. And it was really terrible before the war.
A funny story about Gould. We laughed at him one time. We went down through, I don't remember, it was in Mississippi, wasn't it, somewhere? And we went down, we stopped to get gas. The guy came out, and "What are you doing? What are you doing there?" "We want gas." "No, we don't have any more gas." We were riding this big bus. And Gould was outside messing around with a tire, doing something. I don't know what he was doing with the tire there. But the guy said, "Well, we're not going to give you any." And so, Goose was saying, "Well, what are we going to do? We need gas to travel." He said, "I don't care, you're not getting any here."
That was Alabama.
Alabama. And something, the guy was standing near the window, and Gould was outside the bus. And the bus tires, you know how big those bus tires are. Gould grabbed one of those bus tires, picked it up, and threw it up on top of the bus. And the guy turned around and looked at him, and when they hit bam like that, the guy looked up and saw it, and he said, "How much gas you want?" Just like that.
It was really an experience. But like I said, there's another thing about the Negro ball players. All of that, they went out on the field and they played. That didn't bother our game. How, I don't know, because a lot of times I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to get out of this town." But during the game, we played like we was playing in Yankee Stadium.
It was like an escape. Yeah. When you played the game, it was an escape from all that.
And the people couldn't understand how we could play that brand of ball playing under those conditions. But like I said, after the game, I was glad to get out of town.
Any baseball fan with a desire for more knowledge should visit the Negro League Museum in Kansas City. I've been there many times. Believe me, you won't be disappointed.
Because this is the only place in the world that you can come and get this story, the entire story of the Negro Leagues. And so from that standpoint, it is Kansas City's gift to the rest of the world. This is a story about passion and about pride and about determination and about courage. You won't let me play with you, then I'll create a league of my own. That league would go on to rival, and in many cities across this country, surpass Major League Baseball in popularity and in attendance, and of course would give birth to some of the greatest baseball players who ever put on a baseball uniform. There's a great quote from Mr. Gene Benson, longtime member of the Philadelphia Stars. He says, "I never felt that I wasn't making the money the white players made, or I wasn't as famous. I just wanted to play baseball. I love the game. I'd have played for nothing just to get out there on that grass, that dirt, and play baseball." I think that perfectly demonstrates the love of the game and the passion that these athletes had for the game of baseball. That is what allowed them to deal with the social adversity that confronted them, again, as they traveled the highways and byways of our country just to play baseball. That one of the Monarchs dugout has the legendary Buck O'Neil while managing the great Kansas City Monarchs, and then the one of Jackie has Jackie stealing home as a member of the Kansas City Monarchs when he was here with the Monarchs in 1945. And that's why we're working so diligently to make sure that their stories, the stories of America's unsung baseball heroes, are never forgotten, and in hopes of not only educating our young people, but hopefully inspiring them to be their best. Because at its core, the Negro Leagues is this: if you dare to dream in this country, you can do and be anything that you want to be. They only dared to dream of playing baseball. They had no idea that they were making history. They just wanted to play baseball.
There was no doubt that Negro League Baseball had a style all its own.
See, we played more daring baseball. We had our own ballpark in Philly at 44 and Parkside, and we had more white trade than we had black. All it would stay full because they liked the way we played. See, and they knew they was going to see something once they came to our ball game.
Negro League Baseball was very different in that period of time than was white Major League Baseball. The white major leagues tended to rely on power hitting, whereas the Negro leagues played what we would call the inside game of baseball, the bunt, the hit and run, stealing bases. And it was so much more entertaining for, I think, a baseball fan, where you started seeing increasing numbers of whites coming to the game.
They played such a wonderful brand of baseball to me. Of course, comparing it to today, it's a different brand of baseball.
Well, my first impression with Negro baseball would be going back to what we referred to in the old days as just old-fashioned country hardball.
And we give a good ball game. But while we traveling in that bus, we be singing and joshing and everything. We're just good people together.
Acting like we were crazy, and we probably were.
We had the same schedule the major leagues had. I think at that time it was 154 games. You think they wasn't hard to do 154 games with 16 players? Oh, man. There was only 16 men on a team. And each one of these guys, you see it, he says he's a catcher, but he could do something else. Bill's a catcher. He could do something else besides catch. And that was the way that we played. Malin might be on third base. He might, no telling where. Wilmer, he might play left field or right field or somewhere. You never could tell.
One man gets hurt. That's why Stanley and I had to play other positions. I played every position on the Phillies Stars except pitcher and shortstop. Everyone.
Spring training consisted of maybe one day you went out and took some calisthenics and threw the ball around, and the next day you started to play games, and you played games from that time on. There wasn't any 6-week period of spring training. You played your way in shape.
We may play a doubleheader in Yankee Stadium. We go out in Long Island and play a night game. That's 3 games. Well, before I get into Sunday, we used to like to play a doubleheader Saturday, which was late games, and play a night game Saturday night and go to Yankee Stadium or Polo Grounds, wherever. Play. So that's 6 games that we played in 2 days. And we used to do this week after week.
Throwing at you was part of the game. They told me they were going to throw at me. They let me know they were going to throw at me. When I first they tried to intimidate me. When they found out they couldn't do it, it went along all right. But you know what? We never had an argument. Nobody ever squabbled about somebody throwing at you.
It was amazing. You would knock people down, they'd get up and look at you until you get the ball to the plate. You had to bring your lunch when you went out there. You didn't go out there just hoping somebody would come and everybody help you fight, because nobody was going to come out there.
They didn't have any helmets when we came along. And if you think that if you hit a home run off Leon Day, you're going down.
3 times.
Yes, sir.
In those days, we had spikes that they would sharpen their spikes. You had to know how to get that ball and make the double play and get out of the way. Because, like I said, I have a couple scars on my knees now. Before I really learned how to get out of the way, because they would really hurt you in the Negro League.
After the game, you could be walking down the street and pass a restaurant, and Homestead Grays or Newark Eagles, anybody could be in. They'd call you in and sit and talk to you like you were on the same team with them all the time. The whole league was like that. It was just it was like they were all one team, and I don't think we'd ever be able to capture that again.
The irony of Negro League baseball is that in order to escape racism, they had to leave their own country.
I played in 6 different countries. Canada, United States, Cuba, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, and Mexico.
Playing Latin baseball was an education. I think the first month I was there, the American consulate got us out of bed 3 or 4 times, like 2 o'clock in the morning, because they were looking for things to just blow up, and revolutions and all that stuff. Good baseball, but a nice place to be away from.
In '48, I went into Canada and played ball up in Canada. It was nice up there, very, very nice. And I made twice as much money, more than twice as much money as I made in here. Never traveled over 30 miles in big limousines. lived in the hotel. They cooked nice meals and stuff for you.
But if you were a ball player, sky's the limit. Whatever you wanted, you had.
They always told you, bring your family. Well, you know, if you didn't bring your family, there were so many pretty girls around that they made everything possible for you, you know. But the idea is we didn't do a whole lot of running around because we had to stay in shape.
There was no segregation in any of those Latin American cities that we played in. None. Whatever you wanted, that's what you had. You never knew that you were black, white, or indifferent. That's just how it was. But the Latin countries I thoroughly enjoyed. But I don't like being away from home at Christmas.
Of course, there's no place like home. For the most part, the Stars enjoyed their quirky little ballpark at 44th and Parkside.
I'm not sure about the electric, about the lights. I know the lights were there, but I'm not sure of the power source.
Penmore Park, which was owned by the post office, became the site of their home games, and it held about 6,000. Not a very big park, but they usually packed the place.
I don't know if they had a transformer to light that field up, but it was also dark.
The funny thing was there was a railroad going right by the park at the time, and many times the steam engines would blow smoke so hard and so much of it that they would have to hold up the games because you couldn't see and you couldn't breathe, and they were, you know, blowing smoke out.
Steam cleaning them engines over there. That's what somebody told me. You had to hold up for a while till the smoke and steam cleared the air like a big black cloud.
Girls went to ballpark dressed, high-heel shoes, silk stockings, hats on their heads. Didn't make any difference that it was 90 degrees outside. That's how it was.
If you was standing in the pitcher's mound and didn't know who was playing the center field, you couldn't identify him. You couldn't tell it was Gene Benson out there. There was a lady, I know there was a lady out there had a hot dog, big old pot out there, but they say she was chopping down part of the stands, cooking the damn hot dogs.
As a baseball town, Philadelphia has played host to some of the greatest players in the history of the game. Men like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig shared the same ballparks as Negro Leaguers. And not all the white players favored the separation.
I had an opportunity to meet the granddaughter of Babe Ruth. She said her grandfather really felt that any man who could play the game should be given the opportunity to play the game regardless of color.
After World War II, the climate appeared right for a change.
Here you had the irony of young black soldiers dying fighting the same racism in another country that we were being asked to accept here in the States. That led to the movement of integrating America's so-called national pastime. The sentiment was simple. If they could die fighting for their country, they ought to be able to play baseball in this country. That led to Jackie Robinson being handpicked from the Kansas City Monarchs of the Negro Leagues.
16 teams said no. Landis was the commissioner of baseball, as racist as anyone you've ever known. And he says, as long as I live, there will be no black baseball players in the major leagues. Well, he didn't realize that he had no say on when he was going to live or die. And he died within a few years, and Jack was in the major leagues in a few years.
But Jackie Robinson wasn't a star in the Negro League. And that's why some of the people who played Negro League baseball thought, why should he get that opportunity when I should have gotten that opportunity?
I was so happy to see him break the color line. But when he broke the color line, there was 100 black ball players that they could have used just right along with him.
Wilmer Harris faced Robinson with the Monarchs, struck him out on 3 pitches.
And then I threw him a curveball, he must have missed it that far. And so that was, that was it.
And Jackie Robinson was not the best player, anywhere near the best player on the Kansas City Monarchs.
When Jackie was signed, I was a little shocked. I didn't know what to think. I thought since they had been talking so much about the black ball players going in the major leagues, Jackie had a name through UCLA and football and so forth and so on. I said, well, they took Jackie because of his name. I thought they was hoping that he didn't make it. They said, well, we gave a black ball player a chance.
But Branch Rickey knew that they had another hurdle to overcome. And the hurdle wasn't just pure baseball. It was about competitiveness. It's about your attitude. It's about well-roundedness. And in the case of Jackie Robinson, he fit that.
Personally, I didn't think Jackie would ever turn out to be the ball player he turned out to be. Because after he went up there, we all know he turned out to be one of the greatest ball players of our time. So somebody knew what it was about Jackie.
He was picked by God.
Right.
And he carried the cross.
Right.
I never played against anybody with as much backbone as Jackie Robinson. He would refuse to lose.
Jackie Robinson took Negro baseball to the major leagues because there was no such thing as getting a single and going to second, getting another single and going to third. When you got a single, you went from first to third. And this is what he did. And it's what everybody on the teams in the league. You had to throw in front of them. You couldn't throw behind them.
He took Negro League baseball to the major leagues, made the major leagues better, and everybody was trying to play like the Dodgers played after 2.5 months.
Because the culture of baseball wasn't one of that kind of flair about it. The Negro player, the Jackie Robinson, getting on first base and just wearing the pitcher, getting on third base and just wearing the pitcher.
I didn't know what I wanted to do the minute I saw him and all those bats and the way he shuffled off first and picked it clean around second, and the way just to compete, win, lose. Golly, did he bring an asset to the game itself, speed.
Part of the motivation for integrating baseball, not only because it was the right thing to do, was because of economics. It was a financial benefit because the Negro Leagues, they could just bring people out.
Blacks were going out to baseball in droves to see Jackie because, you know what I mean, it was a novelty to have to see the color line being broken.
When the Dodgers came to Philadelphia, the outpouring of the Negro to come to the baseball game was so outstanding that those seats that they couldn't sell before, those seats were sold.
Jackie first came to Philadelphia to play the Phillies. It was May '47. Jackie didn't have a good game at all. I was sitting in the right field stands. I met Jackie coming to go to the dressing room. And I said, Jackie, I said, you played a very nice game. Can I have your autograph? He said, no, I'm not going to give it to you. I said, Jackie, will you please give me your autograph? He said, no, I'm not going to give it to you. Get out of my way. Because, see, I didn't realize, I didn't hear all the noise and all what he had to endure because I'm sitting up in the stands. And I was sitting around a lot of whites, but they weren't calling him names. But close by, the Phillies were really getting on him. At that time, he was in such a mental situation that he wasn't going to give anybody his autograph, and I just happened to be in the way. But I saw him in many games after that. If you didn't see Jackie play, you missed a sensational ball player.
But off the field, Jackie Robinson served as the epitome of a role model, not just for African Americans, but for white America too. Jackie showed that people could work together at a time when people were resistant to that idea. He epitomized in a very cool way how to handle stress under pressure. He opened the doors for the stars here, for the Negro League.
11 days after Jackie went, Larry Doby came, and he was an all-star for 8 straight years. The next year, Campanella came, Newcomb came, Junior Gilliam came. Then the kids, Mays and Aaron, came, and they set everything on fire. So I can call it Negro Major League Baseball and feel like I'm telling the truth when I say so. because that's the way it was.
And so with the success of Jackie Robinson and the first wave of black major leaguers, the death knell began for the Negro Leagues.
We'd had no idea how detrimental his coming into the major leagues was going to do to our league. Because the crowds fell off dramatically. I mean dramatically.
They ended because there was the end of segregation. Jackie Robinson got to play, and that became the standard for people to want to get into the major leagues. Well, it took a lot of the talent, the top talent, from the Negro Leagues, and eventually it led to their demise.
Once baseball ended, most of them had families, so they had to get jobs. My father worked in the post office. Many of the men had just kind of ordinary jobs, but they were raising families. And so the memories of baseball were always there, but the focus changed.
It wasn't until late in the century that people began to take notice, to ask about their special brand of baseball, to find out about their trials and triumphs.
There were heroes. They were heroes. And I found out about the Negro Leagues probably in the 1990s through a series of postcards, that I just happened to see at a flea market. I bought the postcards, took them home, looked on the back and, saw the pictures. Then I looked on the back and read, about the individuals. I was like, wow, how did I not know about these guys?
It's amazing that when you're playing, you really have no appreciation for history. It's when your career is over and you have time to reflect on things that it really stands out, what you've actually experienced. And so it's great when you have historians that have captured that stuff for you while you were growing up.
I would have loved to have been back there to play. I'm telling you, I would have just loved it. I mean, well, you would have made it. Double Duty told me that he told me I could have played, and I started crying like a baby.
I drew on these guys on a daily basis throughout my career, because there wasn't one day I went out there that I didn't think about something that had happened to them or something that I had heard to make you go out and play better. So a lot of times, that 0 for 4 wasn't all that bad.
My comfort zone was when the ball game started, and I think they had a camaraderie among themselves. You see their own fun, and they were like family, but they really knew how to compete. Winning and losing was everything.
Their love for the game. I think that's the main thing that touched me, was just their love for the game. It wasn't all about the money. It was about respecting the game and just playing the game the right way and enjoying yourself while you're doing it.
In September of 2004, a special gala was organized to help raise awareness about the Philadelphia Stars and serve as a fundraiser for the soon-to-be-opened Memorial Park. I was literally 4 days into my major league career. It was an incredible night.
Everything played perfectly that evening. It was one of those ideal nights. And we were able to raise a substantial amount of money in order for us to keep the statue and keep it sustained.
The stars showed up, and they were like rock stars when they came in. It was really neat.
The men were all in tuxedos, and the women were, in their formal wear. And it was really a very wonderful event, because not only were the Philadelphia Stars there, but there were other players as well. This was a real opportunity for them to kind of shine in a different light.
We enjoyed playing in this city. They always had a good ball club. And I played against all these guys there, Reddy Cash and every one of them. And it was always a battle when we got here. And actually, there was so many things to see and do in Philadelphia. Enjoyed it. They wouldn't let me play Major League Baseball because of this beautiful tan that I sported. He sent Branch Rickey. That's when he signed Jackie to that contract. That was before Brown Bush, the Board of Education. That was before Sister Rosa Parks said, I'm tired today, I ain't going to the back of that bus. Martin Luther King was a sophomore at Morehouse at the time. But that started that ball to rolling. Look at this crowd. I remember the time if a black man was up here talking, with nobody being here but black folk. If a white man was up here talking, wouldn't nobody be in here but white folks. Look at this beautiful crowd that we got. That started when he signed Jackie to that contract. That started that.
For me, the greatest part of the game is actually the opportunity to experience playing with people of all cultures, all races, all backgrounds. That's how I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey. And that would not have been possible without people who came before us, like the Philadelphia Stars and the gentlemen of the Negro League. I think it opened up this world to a new horizon where people now can understand each other, have tolerance, be exposed to different ideas, and to really celebrate the diversity in this country. And that's something that is a treasure that none of us will lose as you look in this room. And it's great to see this sculpture to be that memento, and I want to let these gentlemen know that they'll never be forgotten. So thank you very much.
It's an honor for the Phillies to participate in this opportunity to not only remember this evening, but to be involved in the permanent memory of the contribution that the Philadelphia Stars have made to our great game of baseball and also to this community of Philadelphia.
Thank you for giving so many people so much hope and so many opportunities. People like myself and many, many others, whether we played ball or not, have had a chance to do many things in our lives we would not have been able to do if you didn't do what you have done. And I want to say thank you.
I grew up around the game of Negro League baseball, and I know what these gentlemen went through. My grandfather, my father, my uncle, they all barnstorms. And I know what these gentlemen went through, and it's amazing. My parents told me a long time ago, give me my flowers while I'm alive. Don't wait till I'm in a casket and give me a whole bunch of flowers and talk good about me. Well, tonight, gentlemen, we're giving your flowers while you're alive. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm very proud of you. And we just need to stand up and give these guys a hand right now, because they were tremendous.
Several weeks later, ground was broken on the Stars Memorial Park at 44th and Parkside.
I come through this little intersection here every day. I get reminded of the history and the many struggles that they had to endure on a daily basis trying to play baseball. So I just want to give them their due. We have a tremendous project that's been put together by the Business Association, Marjorie and Miller and many of the business people here. So I'm just pleased to be a part of it. It's another great day in Parkside. Thank you very much.
Sometimes we pass by here and wonder what's going to happen this corner. But we played here. The Phillies Stars was one of the unique teams in the league. We held our own with everybody. We come with Thanksgiving for the West Park organization. So I hope and pray we'll be here when everything gets fruition. Thank you very much.
And with that, Bill Cash gave us a reminder that our time on this earth is not infinite.
Wilmer Harris was 80 when we buried him a month ago. We will miss him.
Every April 15th each year will be a celebration called Jackie Robinson Day in all of Major League Baseball. And we're so thrilled to be here in Philadelphia celebrating Jackie Robinson Day in the way we're doing it. Phillies have been so honored to play a small part in this entire day. Thank you.
To all of you who are here, bless you. And especially to our children. Yes. Drop by and see this statue that you're going to see today often. And whether we are here or not, some of our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and certainly many friends. Thank you so much for coming, and God bless you.
We thought they had forgot all about us. And when the league broke up in 1950, well, things didn't go so good till West Park got a hold of us, and then we've been going through for the 2.5 years with them,
I feel like I'm kind of born again. Hope I stay around to see what happens next. If I can do it, I would like that'd be my one wish, to see what will happen next.
Following the 2005 season, I was honored to win the Jackie Robinson Award as the National League Rookie of the Year. It was also my first chance to spend quality time with Stanley Glenn and visit some hallowed ground.
Tell him you have to worry about that kid. His head's screwed on right now.
That's my mom and dad.
Yeah. And you know something, what's better than that? To be able to say that is a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yes.
Oh, telling you. Between that pole and the next pole was the entrance where you went in.
Okay.
Home plate was about halfway between this wall and that wall there. And this was left field.
So this was left field, okay.
Yeah. But you talk about having fun. We had fun, man.
What was your favorite trip? Favorite city?
I always loved the Yankee Stadium because when I came out of high school in 1944, I was 17 years old. And other than starting here, Yankee Stadium was always my first. I made sure that when I sat down in the locker room that I had to sit next to Babe Ruth's locker.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
A little boy about 14 years old stood up and they said, "Mr. Glenn," I said, "Yeah?" He says, "You don't act like you're angry with anybody." I said, "Son," I said, "I don't have time to be angry." He says, "Well, if I were you, I'd be angry." I said, "Look, you might not live that long, so you better enjoy what you got. I ain't got no time to be fussing and carrying on all that stuff."
In the following years, the Stars became regular guests at Citizens Bank Park. It was nice for them to get a chance to take a bow, but I really think they came for another reason. It was a great chance for them to talk baseball.
The one thing you found out in a hurry was their knowledge of the game. These guys are in their 80s, but they're very sharp, and they're still big baseball fans, knowledgeable game. They knew about all our players. They tell you the ones they really liked and the ones they didn't think were maybe that good.
You hope these guys know who you are. You hope they watch you. You hope that they respect what you do because they came before you, and they don't really have to.
He also played in the Braves minor league system and once hit 5 home runs in a minor league game.
Who did?
Figured out. He had it figured out.
He only hit 3 in the game.
It was obvious that they came to watch every pitch, and they didn't hold back opinions.
Church hit that one hard. It's over Bobby's head, turning him around. And now can't get the ball.
Guys can't catch those balls. The ball hit in the glove and he dropped it.
Old Frank Robinson never changed his, in appearance. He's just old, that's all.
Frank's got to be about 73, man.
Yeah, he's been looking that way for the last 20 years. Should have caught that ball.
Catcher, my eye.
I said he should have caught that ball.
Hit to deep left field, and this ball's out of here.
There it is.
Home run.
4-3. Press the ball.
Gone. Out of here.
They also didn't hold back their opinions on the way of the world.
It's nice for us to give money and gifts all around the world and try to teach other people how to be democratic. And we don't know how to do it here in America, even today. That bothers me.
They were already evaluating me. They already graded me, saying if I was good enough to play in their era, and making their decisions. And eventually they became fans, and I became fans of theirs as they would come to the field. Over time, they went from walking to wheelchairs, unfortunately, but that's part of life. But just to know that they were still out there watching me play every night, it meant a lot.
In 2008, my teammates and I got a special treat. Jesse Branson was a lifelong Philadelphian who had probably seen more baseball than anyone in this city's long history.
I used to carry pages in Josh Gibson's glove in the ballpark when I was a kid, 16, 17 years old. So I could get in because during the Depression, I didn't have no 50 cents to get in. I'm just a 94-year-old student of the game, and I love it. But baseball is something that I love, and I'll die loving. Chase You are beautiful.
He made a lot of instant friends in the Phillies clubhouse.
You're going to win the batting championship. The Phillies are going to win the pennant, and this year they're going to win the World Series, but you are fantastic.
I like you.
Jesse was a frequent visitor throughout the 2008 season.
The first Phillies game I saw was 1927 at Baker Bowl Broad in Lehigh.
He would talk to anyone and everyone about his favorite sport.
Ken Griffey Jr., there's only one thing that I ask of you. Don't hit your 600 home run here. Why? Because it may beat us. I'm still a Phillies rooter. You remind me of cool Papa Bell.
That's
true. Born and raised in Philadelphia.
Did you play for the Stars here too?
No. I just used to go to see the games and used to carry the bats and gloves of Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige, and all the great black ball players in.
Not only did you stand up when you met her, you took your hat off. You're quite a gentleman. Ain't a lot of chivalry left in these days. And I guess you and I are a couple of the only two guys that kind of believe in that kind of stuff too.
But Jesse's interests weren't just limited to baseball.
We have a world-renowned relays every year, the last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
I know that. I'm familiar with the Penn relays.
Yeah, Penn relays. They had territorial rights on Chamberlain.
Sure.
Yeah, because of Philadelphia.
Well, that's where they got Harrison and Chamberlain.
Gold. They had wonderful team.
Ernie Beck, they got them all.
Ernie Beck at territorial right.
Dutch Warmerdam relay?
Yeah, Warmerdam. Yes, Warmerdam. That's right. He was a pole vaulter. Warmerdam was a pole vaulter. I never forget it. I saw a game, Memorial Day morning, 1934. The Philadelphia Stars had a young pitcher, 6'6", named Slim Jones, pitched against Satchel Paige. The game was nothing up to the seventh inning. The seventh inning, Slim Jones hit to one pitch. Josh hit it over the center field fence and win it 1-0. The Dodger uniform that you're wearing is due to the fact that Jackie Robinson came, and I saw the very first 4 games that Robinson played at that time, Shibe Park, in May 1947. My friend, wear that uniform in honor of the great Jackie Robinson.
It's rare to get that much access to a person who had witnessed it all.
He jumped up, that's it, yes indeed.
As a lifelong Phillies fan, Jesse remembered his emotions when Tug McGraw threw the final pitch in the 1980 season.
One thing, I was hooting and hollering, so my sister had to tell me, Jesse, for Lord, oh, my emotions were wonderful. And before I passed to the other side, which I'm not eager to get there, I hope and pray that we get another one.
A few weeks later, Jesse had a front row seat as the whole city celebrated again.
We need you guys in our corner to pick us up and cheer us all the way on like you did this year. Thank you.
Ryan, give me another hug.
Thank you, sir. Thank
This is beautiful. Can I tell you one thing?
What's that?
You fellas have made my day. All you guys, I love all of you because I'm a baseball lover. I love baseball with a passion.
2008 was also a special year for the remaining members of the Philadelphia Stars. As part of the annual amateur draft, Major League Baseball decided to hold an honorary draft of players that had been denied many years ago. Harold Gould, who played professionally in Canada, was selected by the Blue Jays.
I had a marvelous time in Canada. As a matter of fact, racially speaking, they treated me much better in Canada than they did in my own state.
Malin Duckett was chosen by his hometown team.
Well, I just wish that I had been drafted like in 1940, 41 or something like that for the major leagues. To come here, it's a great feeling to know that I'm still thought about, and the Negro Leagues are still thought about. That's the main thing.
Since Stanley Glenn and Bill Cash had played in the minors, they were not included in the MLB draft. But the Phillies held a special ceremony to make them honorary members of the team.
We thank the Phillies for doing what they're doing. When we came along, things were a whole lot different. But the idea is, baseball is baseball, and we played the game and we knew how to play.
Baseball gets into your blood. What is better than planning a day to go out to the ballpark to watch somebody else play? And when we lose, I'm as mad as the players are.
After years of reflecting on the past, the men who blazed the trails for players like me still had one major concern about the future.
Now I'm angry a bit at our youth because 15 years ago we made up 65% of Major League Baseball. Today we make up about 12%.
It befuddles me why we don't have black kids that play the game of baseball today. After all the things that these Negro leaguers went through.
We've had a dramatic drop in African-American players in baseball. I remember it was 18% when I was playing, and it was even higher back when Hank Aaron and Ernie Banks and that crew was playing.
There is little question that it is up to Major League Baseball to help correct the problem.
Well, we've been involved in trying to basically rebuild inner city baseball since 1989. And as we know, RBI stands for Reviving Baseball in Inner Cities. And we knew that there was a lack of organized baseball around the city. And we identified areas in the city where baseball had been dormant for a long time. And our goal was to resurrect it in those areas especially. The purpose was really just to give kids an opportunity to play organized baseball. And it was a positive opportunity for them, something positive they could do in their community.
The more that an organization like the Phillies reach out, not only just in the inner city, but reach out in general, so that these youngsters will have a choice. The more you put choices in front of people, the better chance they have to making a decision in reference to what they want to do. If I'm not exposed, I can't aspire.
Major League Baseball came up with an idea of having these urban youth academies. And basically, they started it out in Compton, California. And they wanted to have a centralized site where kids from around the city could come and get baseball instruction, play in leagues, have camps, have clinics and such. Well, basically there'll be two locations. Because we're in a cold weather climate, we want to have indoor activities and we'll have the outdoor activities on the field. So we chose the Marion Anderson Recreation Center because the RBI program has already been having indoor practices here, and this is where we'll add the indoor field house. Mainly the outdoor work will be over in FDR Park at the Richie Ashburn Fields there. Currently there's an existing large field. The plan is to have some renovations done there, but we're going to put in a second field, which would be brand new, which would also be 90-foot bases, and we'll be able to have tournaments and showcases and get a lot of work done. So it'll be 12 months a year.
The burden falls on individual players as well. I was honored to help restore the field in the Hunting Park section of the city. We should all do our part.
Everyone knows that baseball is in my heart, and I grew up playing in parks in St. Louis, and I completely understand what a park like this can do for a neighborhood and for a community. I encourage all of the young athletes to work hard, at school first, and baseball second. To the kids, work hard, have fun. This is for you. Take advantage of it. And for the community, take care of this park. Thank you.
On top of organized methods of bringing baseball back into the black community, we must also remember to keep the spirit of the pioneers alive. Each year, players get to honor Jackie by wearing the number 42. We've also been able to honor the stars on the field as well. The sacrifices of Negro leaguers and Jackie Robinson must always remain in the curriculum of our youth. People like Sharon Robinson and Jimmy Rollins make sure the flame still burns.
Remember, if there's a barrier, there's a way around it. And it starts with you guys. It starts when you're young. And you teach yourself now, you discipline yourself now to keep going. And you can one day be whatever you want to be. For me, it was a baseball player. And this is where I am. But it started in school first. And I think that's all I have to say.
You know, do I wish my dad was here? I was just thinking, you know, if he could, you know, just meet Jimmy and we'd be so proud of him. Thank you. You're just incredible. And you must figure out a way to keep working with kids. You've got a real gift, Jimmy. So I hope you'll think about how we can continue to use you with kids. Okay. You know, on a national level, you know. All right. You're great. You're great. All right. Great player, but even a better man. So.
Bill Cash believed in a life of service. Even into his later years, he drove around his community delivering meals to members of his church. He, along with Harold Gould and Stanley Glenn, all wrote books about their travels through life. Recommended reading.
What are people going to find out about you, Stanley, that they didn't know after they read this book?
They're going to find out that I'm a Philadelphia guy. I love this crazy town.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise as we observe a moment of silence for Stanley Glenn.
In 2011, we lost both Stanley and Bill Cash. Within months of each other, these two great catchers and wonderful ambassadors for their league were gone.
Well done, thy good and faithful servant. And another reason why we celebrate this morning is because not too many days ago, our brother submitted to the Lord, accepted him.
Baseball players from the Negro League who played on the same team some years ago got together to reconnect, to share the history of the league with young people and with organizations. They gave tremendous verbal histories unlike any other. And these men, most of whom fought in the war, they were great American heroes who served their country not only as patriots, but then played baseball under some pretty trying conditions. But they never ever had a bitter word or anything angry to say about their country or about the players in the other league with whom, for the most part, they were never allowed to play with.
Thank you, Mr. Gould, for opening the way so that we can sit in our chairs and watch the Phillies play and know that it was because of that Negro baseball league. Ways were made, advances with Jackie Robinson allowed and opened the door that other players might come in. Let's everybody stand up. And I asked if it'd be all right if we would sing. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack.
I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the whole team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Take me out to the ball.
It's a simple song, one which almost everyone knows. And like the game it serenades, its simplicity has a soothing effect. It makes people happy, it draws people together. People from all over the world. Baseball has long been a reflection of America. We must always remember to honor its past.
The race does not matter. If you play it, they want to see it. It doesn't, I don't think race is involved there.
As far as baseball is concerned, I don't see any color. I love them all. I had just as much love for Ruth and Joe DiMaggio and the other white players as I did for the black players because of the love of baseball.
When I was a kid, you know, my dad would bring me to Connie Mack Stadium and we would root for the Phillies. I mean, it was just what we did. And matters of race just didn't matter. We came to Connie Mack Stadium, people, all of us were united around our team. Watching Bunning pitch or Richie Allen or Dick Allen hit it out of the park when we were kids, it was special. It was just what we did. Nobody noticed that we were in North Philly or South Philly. It just didn't matter. It was about our team and what happened.
Now that Negro League Baseball has been and is being recognized, there's a certain satisfaction for those few men, because there are only a few who actually played in the league who are still surviving, but for their families to know and appreciate and understand that what they did was important, and it was an important part of American history.
Don't let anyone take away your joy. And that was a standard attitude and phrase among Negro Leaguers, that they were not going to let anybody, white or black, take away their joy of life or their joy of playing a game that they loved, absolutely loved.
They weren't sad because they didn't get to the major leagues, or maybe they didn't have as much money. They were rich in playing a game of baseball, and they got as good as anybody that played the game.
I wish I could call their names off one by one, but they know that big effort runs through them, it runs right through this heart. That's how I got an opportunity. I thank God for it. I really do. May their souls rest in peace. Again, I thank them.
I know of nothing that did more for America than baseball did. Not all the Supreme Court justices in the world, not anything in particular that you can think of. Baseball did more to bring America together than anything else in our realm of being. Now, how are you going to top that?